Now, over the course of the Trump campaign and his presidency, Donald Trump has actually showed great disdain for the very media that helped fuel his rise to president. It's no surprise, and WikiLeaks, and they'll factor into the story later, WikiLeaks revealed that the Democratic Party actually put him up, raised his profile in the media to try to get, basically, to have Hillary Clinton run against Donald Trump because she thought that it was a winnable race. Well, we saw how that turned out. Now, Trump has gone on to attacking them as the media as dishonest, characterizing them as the enemy of America, which I think is kind of absurd, and even threatening organizations like WikiLeaks that do real journalism. Now, for example, recently, Trump's CIA Director Mike Pompeo has stepped up calls to arresting Julian Assange, who, Assange, look, he didn't do a crime. He didn't hack anybody. All he did was release documents that were hacked. He was doing journalism that he thought was in the public good.
Yes, Jeff, but he's funded by the Kremlin.
Oh, it must be.
He's a tool for Russia, Jeff.
It must be.
Bia, are you a patriot? Are you a patriot? People on the left say that now. The supposed left. Like they literally say that now.
McCarthyism.
They literally, are you going to be a patriot? It's McCarthyism. Yes, it is McCarthyism.
That's insane.
It's the right used to do that to the left. Now the left is doing that.
Well, now the right seems to be going after WikiLeaks as well, with Mike Pompeo, Donald Trump saying, "Oh, I forgot what WikiLeaks. Who's WikiLeaks? I never heard of them." Where we have speeches where Donald Trump's like, "WikiLeaks said this."
Well, Donald Trump is focused on real news, Jeff. He doesn't deal with that fake news stuff. He goes straight to Alex Jones and quality journalists like that. He prefers, he prefers.
Don't forget One America News.
I don't.
All right. Now, look, there are some serious implications for this, his attacks against WikiLeaks, of course. And that's if you actually report on anything like that has to do with real journalism, even if it comes from a source that was stolen or hacked from the government or a private body such as the Democratic National Committee, which actually is not a government agency. But look, if you do that, you're in trouble. We're going to come after you as the government. Now, this is a curious position for Donald Trump to take. Because, of course, again, as I mentioned, he used to love WikiLeaks. The Republicans, the right-wingers, they loved WikiLeaks. Now, it's also curious that a lot of his base, or at least a good fraction of his base, now agree with the assertion that, hey, you know what? We don't need journalism. Okay, we don't need press freedom. This is kind of a disaster. Now, this is a new poll that comes from Vanity Fair in 60 Minutes. Found that about one-third of Republicans think freedom of the press now does more harm than it does good. That is a third of Republican voters. Disaster. Now, I mean, I guess conversely, you could look on the other side. Hey, well, look, 61% of Republicans think freedom of the press is necessary, so at least we have a majority, and therefore it should be protected. But these are still sad numbers. It should not be this high. 31% of America. No, press freedom. Fuck that. Let's get rid of press freedom. Now, 36% of Republicans think freedom of the press does more harm than good, compared with only 13% of Democrats who feel the same way. Now, that is an interesting number as well, especially when you mention earlier the whole McCarthyism, the whole against WikiLeaks and against journalistic outlets that actually do real journalism, even if it impacts Hillary Clinton. 86% of Democrats think freedom of the press is very important. Again, I can't help but go back to some examples where we see that that's the opposite, or at least Democratic leaders going after journalists. For example, you had the Obama administration going after leakers, whistleblowers, right? Which were, in the outlets, of course, that they leaked to on the issue of Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, and, of course, WikiLeaks. So that's very interesting. It seems like the party leaders tend to not agree with most of the bases of both parties. That's really strange. It's almost as if they don't represent us at all.
Crazy commie, you're You're funded by the Kremlin too.
I
knew
must
it.
be. Where's my check? Das.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I have like, I have colleagues that work on Lee Camp's show, and I know Lee too, and it's like, I've literally had people tell me, and when I say people, I mean listeners of shows I'm a regular on, like tell me that's funded by the Kremlin and stuff like that. I mean, I've literally had people tell me
So that's
that
ironic.
colleagues of mine are Russian spies, and they're not kidding.
So
And I'm
this is
just like,
ironic,
man,
right?
why haven't they been buying me dinner all these years then? Here, I thought they were
Alright.
just comedians like me,
Or-
just trying to make a living and having something to say.
Or they should at least have gifted you some vodka.
No shit,
Like,
buddy.
seriously.
I mean, I had no idea they had those deep pockets all these
No,
years.
I know,
feel
right?
a little ripped off.
Now, again, this is the ironic part, right? So Thom Hartmann has a show on RT, and a lot of the same people. Remember, Thom Hartmann is the guy that brought you Brunch with Bernie. That's on that show. That's the guy that I found out about Bernie Sanders, and also Thom Hartmann has been very critical of the Russian connection. So he's been critical of the same thing, that the part of the McCarthyism while being on RT.
Yeah, Thom Hartmann. I mean, he's kind of been on both sides of it.
Sure.
I mean, I personally, I don't really enjoy his show. I find it to be a bit, I guess, boring. I mean, I hate to put it so bluntly, but and I think he condescends to millennials a lot, and that's why I'm not a fan. But he kind of towed the line for Hillary.
Exactly.
But he also is still kind of Bernie, and I mean, in his case, I think somebody like him, they take a lot of flack when they don't toe the party line compared to outlets that are more just committed to their online audience, such as a more YouTube-centric show. Thom Hartmann is not that.
Right.
So I think that's kind of why he's all over the place politically.
So, okay. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you on that. Now, okay. Now, here's some other interesting factoids from this little poll. It also found that 93% of respondents prefer to get all the facts when following the news, while just 6% prefer to be entertained. Are you not at all surprised by that?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Yes. So, now, another part of this that's interesting is only 33% of respondents say television news is the most accurate and honest news source, compared with 23% who say newspapers are the most accurate and honest news source, and just 5% say the president is the most accurate source for news. I feel bad for the 5%.
Yeah, I
what
do
the hell's
too.
going on.
I feel bad for
Fake news.
for everybody else if the 5% decides to breed. But
Ouch. Sad.
what? Don't you? Yeah, you really want? But yeah, I mean, less and less people are trustworthy of the corporate media. I mean, it's still, depends on who's doing the poll and how it looks and stuff like that. But I mean, studies going as back as 2013 kind of indicate that trust in cable television news keeps diminishing, and it diminishes especially amongst young people. I mean,
Yes,
people
absolutely.
between 18 and 34. I mean, that viewership is at an all-time low. And or they're at least turning to alternatives, like maybe they'll try to get free speech TV in their area or something like that. If they're going to watch television news at all, and then they're going to YouTube still. I mean, people are still, the thing about YouTube, I know it's been taking a hit. I mean, it's affected us, it's affected you. Everybody's been talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
But the viewers are still here. That's not going anywhere. So we got to find a way to adapt so we can keep bringing the content to the people that want to see it, that we're making it for. And so I think that. Yeah, like trust in the media keeps diminishing, and that's why the whole fake news paradigm was able to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Unfortunately, killing independent media, that's not going to help regain any of that trust in cable news as well. I have a really strange idea. I don't know. It's just strange idea. Maybe actually start telling the truth. Oh my God. How dare I say that? How dare I say that the cable news should actually start presenting facts?
Or hold the powers that be accountable? Instead of being part of the powers that be themselves.
Or stop doing stories from the corporate establishment point of view. And maybe actually do it from the point of view of regular people. But I read a story earlier about media bubbles, ironically from Politico, which in itself admits, and they're self-aware enough to admit that we're also part of that bubble, by the way, that is located in the coasts. You have, New York, Washington, L.A., that's where all the news people are located, and they have a bias. Now, they say we have a democratic bias, but really what they have is an establishment bias, and it's not really liberal. Again, because when you're talking about people even in the Midwest or in other places, they're also progressive. They believe in progressive values, even if they don't identify with the Democratic Party. Because again, who wants to identify with a bunch of losers anyway? Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.